Good morning, welcome everybody, good week. We're starting Tractate Shabbos, page 59. Name of the chapter is Bamei Isha, the sixth chapter. So discussion yesterday was regarding a bell, the whole discussion with a bell. We had summary of six, I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 opinions about this whole discussion with the bell. In note 2, it summarizes a little bit about this whole thing. A bell worn by an animal is susceptible to tumah if it does not have a clapper. It's not considered a utensil. An item worn by an animal cannot attain the status of an ornament with regard to contracting tumah. Number 2 was a bell worn by an animal that has a clapper is susceptible to tumah, for the clapper renders it a utensil used by man, as it produces sound and enables the man to locate the animal. And 3 was a bell worn by man. A slave, for example, susceptible to tumah even if it was made with no clapper, for it is an ornament. This is the law taught in the bison, first bison. D is a bell worn by a child, is susceptible to tumah only if it has a clapper, since its primary purpose is the production of sound. Such a bell has not yet had a clapper installed. It is not susceptible to tumah if it is regarded as an unfinished utensil. This law appears in the third baita. And the last, if such a bell had a clapper but it was removed, the bell retains its tumah status. There is some question as to whether the bell of an animal retains its status if its clapper is removed. That's another discussion. The Gemara says, because it is still fit to strike against an earthenware pot, a bell that has had its clapper removed still can be used for clapping it against, striking it against an earthenware pot. The bell retains its tumah status even though the clapper was removed, because it's still fit to strike against the earthenware pot. Still use it for a child to drink water. So the bell retains tumah. The bell retains its tumah status because it is fit to give a drink of water to a child in it. Although it no longer can produce sound because you took away the clapper. The clapper is what makes the noise in the bell. So the fact that the bell still has a function causes it to remain a utensil and to retain its tumah status. The Gemara notes a difficulty with Rabbi Yochanan's position. Is it true that Rabbi Yochanan does not require that a utensil be usable for a semblance, meaning similarity of its original function, in order to retain its tumah? About Tanyo, we've taught v'chol ha'kli asher yeshiv olav. The pasuk states with regard to midas tumah, stepping on something, any bedding upon which the zav will recline will become tameh. Any utensil upon which he will sit will become tameh. Might have been thought if a zav turned over a seah-sized barrel and sat upon it, or he turned over a half seah, talkav is half seah, barrel and sat upon it, yet tameh, it would be tameh. Talmud Leimar, to dispel this notion, the Torah states, Aser yeshev olav hazov, and any utensil upon which the zav will sit, misha miyuchad le'yeshiva, something that is reserved for sitting upon. Excluded then is this kind of container, for we say to the zav who is sitting upon it, stand let us do our work with the container. So what do we see from this? That if it's not, you're not using it in the way it was designated, it's not considered a kli, or it's not going to be susceptible to tumah.
So then you go back to the bell with the kid, that's the same idea.
The bell without a clapper.
Right.
With regard to tumas, the impurity of midrash, of stepping on something, we say, stand and let us do our work. With respect to corpse tumah, we do not say stand and let us do our work, which means that is an item that has contracted corpse tumah does not lose its stomach status just because it is no longer usable for its original function, as long as it still has a valid function as a utensil. Rabbi Yochanan said, even with respect to corpse tumah, we say, stand and let us do our work. We see from this baita that according to Rabbi Yochanan, corpse tumah can be removed if an item is changed so that it can no longer be used for its original function. Why then did Rabbi Yochanan rule above that a bell that had its clapper removed is still tomeh because it can be used as a cup? Similarly, it should be told because it cannot be used. It cannot be used for its original function. Epoch kamais, reserve the attributions of the first ruling, which were cited with respect to a bell, and cite Rabbi Yochanan as ruling that a bell retains its tumah status when its clapper is removed, because it can still produce sound when struck against an earthenware pot. So it can still be used in its original purpose is to make noise. Why what did you see that made you decide to reserve the first ruling of Rabbi Yochanan? Perhaps you should reverse the last ruling of Rabbi Yochanan that was cited in the Baisa. We have learned concerning Rabbi Yochanan that he requires that a utensil be usable for a semblance, for similarity of its original function, in order for it to retain its tumah status. You got to use it in the same way they used it before. The Tanya. Similar way, yeah, that's what I meant. Tanya, sandal the metal shoe of an animal is susceptible to tumah. The question was raised, for what use is such shoe fit? It is fit to drink water with it during war. It is fit to anoint oil with it during war. When a person flees from battle, he places them on his feet. And now he is able to run over thorns and thistles. They protect his feet. It's metal. We see from this statement that Rabbi Yochanan deems the shoe susceptible to tumah only if it can be used in a manner resembling its regular function. Accordingly, when faced with a discrepancy in Rabbi Yochanan's position, the Gemara prefers to reverse the single ruling that does not conform, rather than having to reverse the two rulings. The Gemara seeks a particular difference between the three reasons given for the tumah of an animal's metal shoe. What is the practical difference between using the animal shoe for drinking, or using it to anoint oil, or using it to run over thorns and thistles? There is a practical difference between them, where the shoe is repulsive, According to Rav, it would not be susceptible to tumah, while according to Rabbi Chanina, it would be susceptible to tumah. What is the difference between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina? Bein Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina, Ika benau the yakir. There's a practical difference between them where the shoe is heavy, and it can be used while, and it cannot be used while fleeing. According to Rabbi Chanina, the shoe is susceptible to tumah. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it is not. It reminds me, my father said that in the, I think it was the war, Yom Kippur War, the Egyptians had this, the soldiers, they were fleeing from the battle, and they had very heavy shoes, so they left their shoes and they ran without shoes. It says over here that the animal shoe could have been used to run over thorns and thistles, but if it's heavy, it would not be used.
Right.
So you see over here, took off their shoes, the soldiers, and ran away. And a woman may not go out with a city of gold. My Birshal Zov, what does the Mishnah mean when it says city of gold? Rava Bar Chana Omar V'Yechon Yerushalayim. The Mishnah refers to a golden ornament engraved with a likeness of the city Yerushalayim. Rabbi Akiva did to his wife Rachel. He bought her the jewelry, bought her an ornament fashioned for Yerushalayim shel Zov. Tanu Rabban Leisei Beir shel Zov. A woman may not go out on Shabbos wearing this ornament, city of gold. If she did, she's liable to chatos. These are the words of Rabbi Menashe. The rabbi says she should not go out. But if she did go out wearing it, she's exempt from chatos. Rabbi Lezer disagrees with the rabbis and Rabbi Meir, and he says she can go out with this city of gold in the first place. It is completely permitted. What is the machlokes? One says it's allowed, one says it's not allowed. You don't have to bring korban chatos. Rabbi Meir says you have to bring korban chatos. What's the Rabbi Meir saw Masir. Rabbi Meir holds the city of gold is a burden rather than an ornament. It is biblically prohibited to wear it outside on the Shabbos. The Rabbi says it's ornament, but it is not biblically prohibited to wear it outside. Therefore, you shouldn't. But if you did, you don't have to bring korban chatos. Because the rabbis were concerned, why not? If it's a jewelry, why not to go out with it? Because they're afraid she might remove it to show it off to her friends. Look at my ring, takes it off, start showing it off, and come then to carry it for Amos in public domain. Therefore, wearing this ornament is rabbinically prohibited. Rabbi Lezer says it's totally permitted. Woman is permitted to wear this ornament on the Shabbos. Because for who is accustomed to wearing such an ornament? Isha Chashuva, this is a distinguished woman. It's no regular woman cannot afford the Isha Chashuva lo mishalfo machvio, and a distinguished woman, she's not going to take it off, give it to other people. So that's why there was no reason for the rabbis to forbid the wearing of a city of gold, at least according to Rabbi Lezer. The Gemara discusses another ornament, kililo, another tiara. Tiara may be worn outside on the Shabbos. Is a matter of dispute. Rav also Shmuel Shor. Rav says don't do it. Shmuel says it's permitted. It's permitted. The anisko kulam lepegdosu. There's no dispute. All agree that wearing it is prohibited. When it comes to tiara fashioned of a hammered plate of gold or silver, all agree that wearing it is prohibited on Shabbos. Keep pligi darukso. When concerning a tiara made of fabric stubbed with gold pieces and precious stones, that's what the machlokes. Ma'asova niskoiko, ma'asova kusoiko. Rav holds that the gold pieces in the tiara are the primary part of the ornament, and thus it is a significant item that a woman would wish to show off a friend. Accordingly, he rules that wearing it is prohibited. Masova kusaika. The other Master Shmuel holds that the fabric is the main part of the ornament, and therefore it is not considered a significant ornament According, it may be worn on the Shabbos. Ravashi taught a more lenient interpretation of this dispute. In his opinion, there is no dispute concerning a tiara made of fabric, studded with gold and stone. All agree that wearing it is permitted. Keep ligid aniska. When did they argue concerning a tiara fashioned of hammered metal plate? One master said maybe she'll remove it and show it to friends. Too, and then come to carry it. Who is accustomed to wearing such a tiara? Isha chashuva, a distinguished woman. Veisha chashuva l'shavel machvi. A distinguished woman is not likely to remove her tiara and show it to another woman in the street. You explicitly told us in Rav's name that wearing a tiara is permitted on the Shabbos. You obviously subscribe to Ravashi's interpretation of the dispute, for according to Ravashi, Rav permits the wearing of studded fabric tiara. Studded, thank you. Studded fabric tiara. A great man who was very tall came to Nardo. He was great man and also very tall, umatla, and he was limping. And he taught that wearing a tiara outside on the Shabbos is permitted. Who is this man? Great man, very tall and limping. Levi, it is Levi. From this, the fact that Levi has come, we can deduce that Rabbi Menashe was the head of the academy in Eretz Yisrael, must have died. Rabbi Chanina, with whom Levi had been studied, is now the head of the academy. And Levi did not have anyone with whom he could sit and study. And he came here to Nardo to seek a teacher. But how did Rav know that Rabbi Ofis had died? Perhaps it was Rabbi Chanina who died. Rabbi Ofis and Rabbi Ofis still stands in his place as the head of the Eretz Yisrael Academy. But as a result of Chanina's death, Levi had no sage with whom he could sit and study. And that is why he came here to Nardo. The Gemara explains why Rav rejected this possibility. Rav reasoned that if it were so that Rabbi Chanina had died, Levi would have subordinated himself to the authority of Rabbi Ofis, who was older than Levi. It must have been Rabbi Ofis who died with Tzu. And furthermore, Rav knew that Rabbi Chanina had not died. For it could not be that Rabbi Chanina would never head the academy. When Rabbi was dying, he said, Chanina the son of Rabbi Chama, shall sit at the head of the academy. It is written regarding the righteous, and you will make a plan, and it will succeed for you, etc. You'll make a plan, it will succeed. Job 22:28. Had to be that Rabbi Chanina would head the academy at some point. Levi's coming to Nardoa could therefore only be as a result of the death of Rabbi Ofis. Levi taught in Nardo that wearing a tiara on the Shabbos is permitted. And 24 tiaras emerged from all of Nardo. Rav taught in Mechezel that wearing a tiara on the Shabbos is permitted. And 18 tiaras emerged from a single mavoi. in the town. Amar Ruda, Amar Shmuel, Kamor Shori, wearing an ornate belt, like the cowboys, outside on the Shabbos is permitted. So there are those who say that Rabbi Yehuda's ruling refers to a fabric belt, studded with gold and precious stone. Just as wearing a cloak decorated with gold is permitted. And there are those who say that Rabbi Yehuda's ruling refers to a belt made of hammered gold. Wearing this belt is permitted just as a hammered gold belt of kings may be worn. If one wishes to wear an ornate belt on top of a regular belt, what is the law? May he wear the belt in this manner or not? Do you speak of two belts worn one directly atop the other? Such wearing is certainly forbidden. One does not usually wear a second belt over the first. It's not common to wear one belt on top of the other. This corset. What is corset? A white strap of material that was tied around one's body, like a belt. Isle mefarchayoso shri. If it has ties attached to it, wearing it outside on the Shabbos is permitted. But if it not, wearing it is prohibited. And she may not go out with a katlo. My God, what is a katlo? Menakto fori. Katlo is an ornate bib, worn tightly around the neck as a crumb catcher, catching the crumbs. 59b4, Nezomim, no, may she go out with rings. Nizme off, the Mishnah's ruling refers only to nose rings. Earrings, however, are permitted. She may not go out with a ring that bears no signet. In addition, that a woman is rabbinically prohibited from wearing a ring that bears no signet. The Gemara infers another law from this teaching and challenges it. A ring that bore a signet, she would be liable to chatos. Amalav tachshit, we see it's not an ornament for the woman. Umini tachshit nashim tmeim, the ornaments of women are susceptible to tumah. Ve'lo tachshit nashim, what is considered tachshite nashim, women's ornaments. Katlois, chokers. Nizomim, earrings. V'tabois, and rings. V'tabas, and the ring spoken of here. Whether it bears signet or it does not bear a signet. And those rings. And nose rings. The Mishnah clearly states that even ring that bears a signet is considered an ornament. This is not difficulty for this inference that you draw from the Mishnah that a signet ring is not an ornament accords with the view of Rabbi Nechemia. While this Mishnah, which states that a signet ring is an ornament, accords with the view of the rabbis who disputes him. So the rabbis say it's an ornament. Rabbi Nechemia said it's not. The Gemara cites the dispute between Rabbi Nechemia and the rabbi, the Tanya if the ring was made of metal and its signet was made of almoig wood, temeo. It is susceptible to tumah. If it was made of almoig wood and its signet was made of metal, tehoro, it is tahor. It's not susceptible to tumah. It's only when the signet is made out of wood, it would be okay. If the ring was made of metal and its signet was made of almond wood, tameo, it is susceptible to tumah. If it was made of almond wood and its signet was made of metal, tahero, it is Torah, not susceptible to tumah. This is the view of the rabbis. Rabbi Nechemia declares a wooden ring with a metal signet tamish. Rabbi Nechemia would say, "Betabas halichachachosam." When it comes to a tabas, when it comes to a ring, follow the signet. Be'oil halichachasim. When deciding the tumah status of a yoke of an animal, follow after the composition of its pegs. The yokes made in Talmudic times did not follow the contours of the oxen's neck as ours today. Rather, they were straight bars placed over and under the necks of the oxen. The bars were connected with straight pegs, fit into holes, and the bars on either side of the oxen, and these pegs held the bars in place, able the yoke to function. This little diagram shows it, and we'll continue, God willing. Tomorrow I'll have shortly another video on Tractate Shabbos.